I think most of you know me. For those of you who don't know me, I can tell you I am the director of the Istituto Diplomatico, the Italian Diplomatic Institute, which is the section, the part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs dealing with training for the personnel of the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I'm talking to you from Rome, of course, from a very beautiful place that you cannot see, which is called Villa Madama, which is exactly where the Istituto Diplomatico is located. So welcome you all today. We are going to talk about eTools. So then we'll see what it is, eTools. The title, as you can see from this initial slide, is 10 essential eTools for diplomats. So concentration is on diplomatic activities. I will show you some examples of these eTools applied to diplomatic activities. Hopefully some of you will find something useful. Of course, we will be surfing in a way, which means we will be going very quickly through these eTools. Just highlighting a few peculiarities or some characteristics. So you will not necessarily be able to use these eTools after you've heard this presentation, but hopefully, at least if some of them you don't use, you will be curious enough to take a look and see if there is something good for you. The idea is exactly that. Why 10? Because it's a round number. I could have done 5. I could have done 7. It's just my opinion. I have to say, of course, if somebody else would run the same presentation, I'm sure that he or she would list different eTools. So this is my opinion, my experience. We can hopefully have a discussion in the second half of the webinar on the different tools, on your use, whatever you want. I have here with me, you cannot see him, and I will not turn the camera, otherwise we will not have the right view. But I have here with me Lorenzo Pinelli, who is working with me, and he will help me out with the chat. So feel free to chat even in this first part, but mainly in the second part, and we will try to have a discussion on your experience, on our experience, on some other suggestions, whatever comes to your mind after I've shown to you these eTools that I'm going to present to you. So what's an eTool? That's the first issue. Let's try to define what it is. For eTool, we can, or at least I can think of 3 categories, and I can talk about it. First category are services. Services means something that you don't necessarily have to install on your computer, but that you can use, for example, online through the internet, and just logging in and using your own account. So Twitter, and we'll talk quite a lot. We'll talk a little bit about Twitter, for example, is a service in a way. You can, but of course there are some aspects you can even install it if you want on your smartphone. So these categories I'm showing to you are not so straightforward, but it's just to help you out to understand what we will be talking about and why they have different functionalities, and the approach is different to some of them. Then there is another category which is software. Software means that you have to install. In order to use it, you absolutely need to install a certain program, a software. So, for example, Skype, unless you install the software, you cannot use it. PDF printer, I will explain to you, is a software. This is software. Then we have another big group, and I can anticipate to you, we will not talk about this big group. At least we will not talk on this session. Maybe we can think of another session dedicated to the apps, the applications. Now this is, very popular. You have your mobile phones, your smartphones, and there are so many different applications which are pieces of software you install, and then through this software you can use or you can access certain services for certain activities. Of course, there are some apps which are related to the services. So there is the app for Twitter, for example. But in order to talk about apps, we have to talk about the mobile phones, the smartphones, and everything else. So today we are not going to touch on this particular part of eTools. So we will talk about services and talk about software. So why we are doing this exercise? Of course, you can think of we are doing this, or I'm talking about this because I'm a bit cyber freak and I like to share with the others ideas on these new things which are social media or whatever it is. But in fact, I believe this is part of the story, of course, because I like all these gadgets and new possibilities that you can do, things you can do through the social media. But of course, the focus and the idea behind this presentation is mainly to find out or to discuss about what you can do for your daily activities, for your work, for your profession with some of these eTools. Of course, there are many others, and I'm sure that we come out during the discussion, which are available, but are not necessarily, in my opinion, or as we say, in my humble opinion, necessarily so useful for our work. And when I say our work, it's the profession of those who are, in a way, active in the international affairs, like diplomats or other offices of international organizations, NGOs, whatever it is, which is dealing with international affairs. So the idea today is just to suggest to you some of these uses, suggest to you some of these applications, and maybe during the discussion get some feedback from you on what is your experience, what are your suggestions, what are your critical points about these tools which are available. So now I will not keep it as a surprise. What are these fundamental eTools? Here is a list that you can see. We will go quickly through the list, so memorize this list because one by one we'll go through them. Of course, as you can see from the time which is ticking, time is moving. We will not have so much time to dedicate to each one of them, but this is my top 10 list, like you find in many other things. The top 10 books you should have read, the 100 places you should have visited before you die. Wait and see. So in this case, it's the top fundamental eTools, according to Stefano Baldi, of course, for the diplomats. I'm sure that many of you know at least 8, 7, at least 5 of them, and they use them daily. Maybe others are less evident, but this is if there are some of them that you don't know, it's good. You are not wasting your time listening to me in this hour or so that we will spend together. At least something else will come to your mind. There are many others, as I told you before. We will not go through these others. I just mentioned them here just to show you how wide it is. Some of them could be useful in some specific occasions. If you take Ebikes, for example, it's a service for managing invitations. If you are in a place which is very much advanced in terms of use of IT, you could think of also make some informal invitations. I'm not claiming that you should use, for example, Ebikes for your national day, and maybe that could be a little bit risky. But if you have a kind of meeting or informal gathering where you have to also invite your colleagues or other friends, Ebikes could be, one way to manage properly a certain number of invitations. This is just an example. I will not go through the others. We don't have time. There are many more. I'm sure you will list others. But this is just to give you an example of when I say that there are many others. So this is just an idea, to give you an idea, because you might be thinking, that I am claiming that you can use this software or these services just because I'm a cyber freak, and I don't see what could be really the applications of them. Here I put together some of the skills, some of the activities of diplomats, typical or less typical, and then I put close to it some indication of what kind of eTools could be, useful, helpful, or you use other definitions for in that occasion. I don't know if I think of a typical activity like networking. Of course, it could be Twitter, it could be LinkedIn, could be Vine, it could be Doodle, it could be Skype. Each one of them could have a different role in enhancing, in improving, in making it easier to perform the networking activity, which is a typical diplomatic activity. Of course, I must tell you, at the heart of our activity, of diplomatic activity, of international affairs activity, there is always the person, the human being. You can see it there in the middle. There is no technology, there is no service, there is no e-tool that can replace the person or can, in a way, compensate whatever weaknesses a certain person has. These tools can only be useful to improve, if you want your activity. Okay, now let's go to tools. We'll go very quickly through. I have more or less 10-15 minutes to go, and in 10-15 minutes, I have 10 tools to show to you, which means more or less 1 minute each. I don't know if I keep it, but I will try. You will see that for each tool, I have prepared a kind of a very short presentation where you have some variables. The passive use of that tool, the active use, the cost, if it is available online or not, and also definition of tweet. Of course, in order to tell you the tweet, for those who don't know what Twitter is defined as a microblogging tool that you can use very easily. Now it's very common. And why I say a passive use of Twitter? What could be a passive use of Twitter is that you can just look at the tweets that are being sent around, and so that you can keep in touch with some sources of information. Can be news, can be ministers, can be other people studying a certain country, doesn't matter. You choose who are you following, and you just look at what they are tweeting. Very interesting information sometimes. If you feel more at ease, you can be active there, and you can communicate and spread information to Twitter. Twitter is free, and it's available online. What is a tweet? Is a message with less than 140 characters. So in the next tools, you will find a tweet defining that tool. That's very simple. This is about Twitter. What's an example? I'll give you an example. This is an institutional example. I took the account of the Italian foreign policy, which is called Italian foreign policy. It's a tweet account which is managed by our press office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with a lot of interesting tweets every day. Also, there's an Italian and an English version, and this is what it looks like when you go there and look at it. That's the point. I'm not going to explain how Twitter functions. I'm not going to explain any of the tools. There won't be time. If you want, we will have specific webinars on each tool, but not today. Next one, WordPress. WordPress is a blogging tool. Blogging tool means something that you use to set up blogs and to manage them. So what can you do passive with WordPress? You just follow selected blogs. You find a blog that it's interesting. Most of the time it will be done in WordPress. You don't even realize it, maybe only from the URL, and that's it. But of course, what is interesting about WordPress is the active use, which means communicate and spread information. So this is, you can set up easily a blog and use it for your consular activities, for your public diplomacy, whatever you want. So you have a specific topic that you want to share with the others, and you set up a blog. I have many blogs. For those who look at my homepage, we'll find out that I have different blogs on specific issues. I'm not going to tell you about. If you are curious, you will just go and see. Look for Stefano Baldi Diplomats on Google, and you will learn everything. The cost of WordPress is free, and it's open source. It can be online, or you can even download it because it can be also installed on your computer. But it's always something which goes online anyway. Good blog must be online. What's the tweet? It's a free blogging platform, easy to use. That's what WordPress is about. An example of a blog used in our work, of course, the easiest way for me to show to you is the blog that we set up here in the Diplomatic Institute. It's a blog for training with a lot of information on training, especially on soft skills. It's called Easy Learning Corner, as you can see. The address you can see is istitutodiplomatico.wordpress.com, and in there, of course, this is just a picture. You will see many posts, three per week, that are about sources interesting in terms of training or for skills or for other activities which could be used for diplomats. You can even, you cannot see it here, but here you can even subscribe to the blog so that you will receive information whenever it is posted. So please, for those who are not subscribed, go there and subscribe. You will not regret it. Next one, Netfights is a bit more difficult, maybe a little bit more unknown. It's a personal aggregator. Aggregator means that you put together information on one place. What's the use of Netfights? Of course, you can consult somebody else's selection of information. What is the active? You can set up an aggregation of information for yourself, or that you can share with others, which means that you go in one place and you put together there many different sources of information coming from blogs, coming from web pages, and coming from tweets, whatever. There are many things you can put together in one page or in several pages. Then you can look at them immediately and be informed and be updated as soon as there is a new information posted to that whatever source that you are following. The cost is free. It's available online. What's a tweet? Access to all your digital resources in one place. What it is all about? This is more difficult. Okay, this is an example. You can see here the address. It's something that I set up some time ago. I'm using every day, I would say. It's on my screen. This is www.netfights.com and then /DiploSor. What is it? You see this page. In this page, for example, which is under the general tab, these are different pages on different subjects. This is the general information that I've selected. I have selected several sources like New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNN, Euronews, Al Jazeera, UN News, and every time there is something new which is posted to one of these sources, I will receive it here. I don't have to go to the website. I will just receive it here. So this is updated. It's the push. Technology. So it's very simple. In front of me, I have something which is every time being updated. It's very useful instead of going from one place to the other. Next, Wikipedia. So what do you do with Wikipedia? This is certainly more known. Of course, all of you, I'm sure, make a passive use of Wikipedia. They've gone there, they've looked at some article or whatever, and they found more or less valuable information. What can you do on Wikipedia? Can you be active? Yes, very easy. Edit and add articles to improve quality and accuracy. What if you are posted to any country where there is a Wikipedia version? I take it a very simple one. You're posted to Spain, and you have the Spanish Wikipedia. And then you look in the Spanish Wikipedia, for example, on the biography of your Minister of Foreign Affairs or your country or some activities of your country, and you find something which is completely wrong or which is completely unfair. What can you do? You can change it. You can contribute. This is it's an opening. So you have the right to do it and to engage if you want. And I think you should do it because it's part of public diplomacy. Maybe you should do it personally, not as an institution, because Wikipedia is a participation at personal level. But still, I think this is just an example. It's free. It's online. What's the tweet? The free open content online encyclopedia written collaboratively by users. I hope this is 140 characters. If I didn't check, should be. Okay, this is just an example. It's a Ministero degli Affari Esteri. Of course, it's in Italian. And of course, we have been looking into this this article, and of course, there were a few things which were not completely correct, and there was a possibility to contribute and make it a little bit more precise in terms of the activities, in terms of the structure, and this is a concrete contribution to make the Wikipedia source more valuable and more reliable. That's it. Skype. Well, I think all of you use Skype for our work, for our activity, for our families. This is very important. No need to tell you, receive voice and video calls. And of course, you can make voice and video calls. You can even do conference calls if you have a good line, a good bandwidth. It's free. You have to download it. It's a software, so both platforms are supported, Windows and Mac. What's the tweet? For voice and video conversations with others. What's the sixth? YouTube. Even this, you know it very well. Why? You can watch videos, but of course you can post videos. This is very important. And in our public diplomacy activities, it's becoming more and more important, the multimedia part. So you can post a video, you can set up a channel of your embassy, of your ministry, whatever you want, and put there, of course, proper material. It's free, it's online. What's the tweet? A place where you watch and share videos online. An example, here is the example. There is a channel by the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs. Sorry if I do all this advertisement for the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs. They are paying my bills, so I think I should do it. And also, on top of that, all these activities are carried on by colleagues and friends, like this channel of YouTube. It's a very interesting one, where many short videos are posted on the activities that are done not only by the minister, but also by many other offices of the ministry or even abroad. And this is a very important source of information, even internal, not only external. But certainly for the external world, this is extremely important because you can even learn a lot, and nowadays multimedia is essential. LinkedIn. It's a professional networking site for those who are familiar with Facebook. Well, it is said that LinkedIn is the professional version of Facebook. It's less time-consuming and time-wasting than Facebook. It's more on the professional side. Of course, on LinkedIn, you can consult data on known persons who are in there, especially professionals. But of course, you can be part of it. You can include your professional curriculum. You can participate in groups. And that's one way, really, where people can easily and more or less reliably know a little bit more professionally about you. It's free, it's online. It's a social networking site. This is the tweet aimed at the professional community, which now has 200 million users. You will find a lot of possibility to connect there with people that you know. Here, again, this is my example. I'm on LinkedIn. It's very neat. It's very clear. You can even post things there, but this is not the main activities. Mainly, you can have groups, and you can have possibility to trace or retrace people that you know. And with our activity, this is very normal that you have people all around. Mind mapping. I'm not going to explain to you what mind mapping is. It's a technique. It's a very good one. For those who never tried, you should learn more about that. It can help you a lot on making mind maps, making order in your whatever conversation, note taking, preparing for articles, preparing for speaking notes. It's extremely good. There is also a mind mapping tool which is called MindMeister. There are many. I put this because it is free also. It's also online. And of course you can see other mind maps, which is not necessarily so interesting. You can create your own mind map, for example, if you have to talk about something. And this can be a very, very useful tool. What's it read? Collaborative mind mapping tool. MindMeister in particular offer the possibility to connect together and make a collaborative mind map, which is a kind of, you know, a tree or something like that. An octopus sometimes, it depends on many different ideas. Mind mapping is an extremely valuable tool and technique. PDF printer. This is maybe you don't expect this. Why I put this? Because many people do not know that they can install a very simple piece of software, in particular a kind of printer driver, again, but it's for free, through which you can produce PDF files. This is not applicable on Mac. For the Mac users, Mac it already comes with this possibility of making PDF documents. But this is not true for Windows. You have to install something. It's very simple to install. That's one example, bullshit.com. But there are many others which are for free, which means that if you have a document that you have written, for example, in Word, you don't have to print it on paper and then scan it. You just print it and immediately have it as a PDF, wonderful PDF, original PDF file, which is much lighter and far more easier to read. This is just, you download a piece of software and then you install it. Last 10, you know, I didn't play it honestly. I played dirty. I didn't. In fact, the 10 it's more than one. It's Google and Company, I call it. It's kind of two galaxies. It's not only one. And, you know, Google is offering so many services, more or less known, which could be useful. So yeah, I only put a list that I selected: the translation, the alert, and the groups for the mailing links. And the alert is for you get emails every time something on a particular issue is published somewhere. It just keep you going around and telling you put a name, and every time there's something about that name, you will receive an email. That can be interesting if used properly. Then you have the Drive, which was called Google Docs in the past, where you share. It's a kind of cloud. Create, share files, but you can also collaborate on the same file. It's an extremely useful tool. Calendar, of course, you can share your calendar, you can synchronize your calendar and have it online. All this is free, it's available online. What's the trick? Maybe we can do it with Google. Google is really expanding its activities. What's next? It's just an example of where you can find me on some of the different things that I mentioned to you before. WordPress, these are the blogs. Netfights, DiploSource I mentioned to you. My Twitter account. In LinkedIn, you find me as Stefano Baldi. On Skype, it's Toscanini 1961. I'm often invisible, so you will not find me very often in there, just when I want to call. This is my attitude. So I will leave this as the final slide, so that you can take note if you want. But this just gives you an example on some of the different tools that you have to, or you might have to manage once you start using all these tools. Is it a waste of time? Is it sometimes too stressing? It depends. It very much depends. And of course, it is very important to use them properly. That's the main message. Try to use this for your work, but most importantly, try to use them properly. Not using them is not the solution. I will close with this, and now I will start trying to look at your chat or reactions, and in the meantime I will ask Lorenzo if he has a few things that he has found already I could mention. Lorenzo.
Yes, there is a question from Mark Blaggett. What are your thoughts about compliance with Wikipedia policies regarding conflicts of interest and disclosures? Do you first edit articles and hope the changes stick, or do you post suggested edits to the talk page of an article and participate in a dialogue on suggested revisions?
Yes, my approach is very simple with this. And up to now, more or less, I didn't have any kind of major discussion or problem, with exceptions. But let's make it simple. I say if there's something which I consider is wrong, I'm just one of the users of the internet, of the Wikipedia, like many others. I have the same rights, so I also have the rights to change and edit the article and see how it goes. I have to be intellectually honest. This is a problem of approach, of ethics, if you want. It's a different problem. But then I make my change, and most of the time it just goes through, because I'm not going to say that black is white and white is black. What if there is a discussion? It's up to you. I mean, the point is that if you start a discussion on the Wikipedia, on an article, you must know, you must be trained to be really part of a discussion, because while changing an article, it's easy. To be effective in a discussion, you have to learn a little bit. How do you learn? Learning by doing. You see what the others are doing in discussions, maybe you're not involved, and see how you can react, how you can support your case, how can you try to get to a result which is decent. But as I said, up to now, I had very little problems in the changes that I made. And sometimes it's not only about changes, it's about adding some articles which are important but are not there. For example, in the Italian Wikipedia, there was the definition of ambasciata, embassy. There was the definition of consolato, consulate, but there was no definition of permanent representation, permanent mission. And since I was, very much spent much of my career in permanent missions, I created the Italian article for rappresentanza permanente, which was changed a little bit afterwards, but it's fine. This is there, something that people will find, and will find. We know that there are different kinds of missions in our network. This is just an example. Lorenzo.
Another question for now.
Well, I'm curious to know, do you have other suggestions or other, how can I say, tools that you are using and that I didn't mention?
Yes, there is a question from Diego Rovelli. What about the use of eTools related to policy change? How in these years as the diplomatic activities change with the contribution of these tools?
Usually tools how in this year the political activities change with the contribution of these tools. Well, I have an example of this. If I get it correctly, if you take Twitter, Twitter is changing considerably the kind of public diplomacy activity. Not only the public diplomacy done by the career diplomats, but also done by our ministers, our political leaders, whatever. Because they do it straight. They just go. They have tens of thousands of followers, and they get a message to the outside world in an informal way immediately. So, in a way, this can be an advantage if it is well done. It can be, more complicating in some other activities. It very much depends. But as a matter of fact, this is going on anyway, we like it or not. We had this interesting webinar on Twitter for Diplomats. I will not, and there is a publication on that. If you look online, for those who don't have it, Twitter for Diplomats, Istituto Diplomatico or DiploFoundation, you will find this booklet written by Andrea Sandre, and which goes there and describes how things are changing. The point is that we have to, in a way, be on top of the change as diplomats. We cannot just follow, because if we follow the change, we lose some parts of this change, and we are not part of it. So, of course, we have to be careful, but at the same time, understand that the political change can be shaped. There are many examples in the Italian political situation, but also in the US. If you see what Obama has done through the social media, you see that they are really affecting the way we work, the way politics communicate, the way institutions communicate. So this is quite a different thing. Okay, I will read it myself straight away now. Many of the tools are kind of passive. You post something and you... Okay. I completely agree. One of the objectives of this very quick presentation was to show that it's very easy to be passive. Most of us are passive, but if you don't take the opportunities which comes with being active, we really lose quite a lot in terms of, let's say, efficiency in our work. If you just are always there passively on Twitter, it's fine, but you will not use the opportunity that Twitter gives to you to reach 100, 1,000, 10,000 people. It depends on who you want to reach, really, or anyway to make your information more known. As a matter of fact, those sections who have to change the most and quickly with the use of this new social media or these eTools are our press offices, as I showed you before, because the information evolution doesn't wait. So you have to be there, you like it or not, and you have to be there in some efficient way, effective way. Otherwise, of course, it will, backfire if you want this use. Of course, there is a risk, and the risk is that you do something wrong, and then there are consequences to this. But if you think about this, this is not very different from what happened in the past in terms of risks. If you didn't write properly a press communique or it was coming late, this could have caused some problems. Again, the point is that everything is going much faster than before. That's a big difference, I must say, in this sense. Okay, there are other things from the previous considerations. So I would like to hear from you, from those. If any of you have other tools using which they think should be mentioned or should be in a way made, we should highlight them on top of what I said before. This would be interesting to hear and to see. And also, I really would be interested to see from the chat. We cannot vote in this case, but how many of you are using, more than at least 5 of these tools that I mentioned to you, so they using them even passively. I hope most of you, but I don't know. So this would be certainly interesting to hear. And of course, for those who are not in the, while I wait and see if there are reactions, and for me to know about this, what is What I can tell you that at least on the activities of the Diplomatic Institute, there is we invested, or we are investing quite a lot on learning more about these tools. I'm convinced that in any way these and other tools will be, ordinary tools in the next 3 to 5 years, and you cannot. It's better you learn in time rather than wait last minute and then try to improvise. This is I already on other occasions gave this example. The point is that, for example, if you go to an embassy now in some countries, if you go to an embassy where there is let's say, an adequate use, I don't want to say extended use, but an adequate use of internet, there will be the expectations not only to find the website of your embassy, for example, where you can provide information about visas, cultural activities, and many other things. But there will be the expectations also of having a kind of possibility to interact with the embassy. This is the challenge which comes, of course, with the social media, with some of the media that I explained to you. It's not easy because once you are on Twitter, for example, of course, there is the expectations that you interact with Twitter. Or once you have a blog, there is the expectation that you interact with the comments you get on the blog. And of course, this can be difficult sometimes. And of course, there are other things which are intermediate. If you take YouTube, for example, as I mentioned before, YouTube, yeah, you have the comments, but you don't have the setting to interact. But are you, when you go to somewhere, an embassy, and your ambassador, who is much older than you, will come to you and say, okay, why don't we post something on the YouTube or about the inauguration of the exhibition XYZ that we have organized, because not because he knows, but because he has heard, he or she has heard of this possibility. Then, of course, especially for the young generations, the expectation is that they are able to do this. So the point is, will you be able to do this? Will you succeed in meeting the expectations of your boss, who will ask you to run or to supervise, I don't know, the Twitter account of the, I don't know, of the embassy or the cultural institute or whatever you have, the council section. Of course, you have to think twice, but at the same time, you cannot just pretend that you do nothing about that. So I didn't get any reaction on my plead for knowing if there are other tools, which I don't know if it means that nobody else is using other tools.
There are two questions by Massimiliano Cusari and Giulia Campeggia.
Okay, Massimiliano. Maybe within the Google Galaxy, usage of analytics might help better track specific public discussions. Yes, true. There is one of the powerful tools behind Google is the statistics that you have generated by Google, and there are many ways to look at them. Google Analytics is one of them. I must confess to you, the only statistics I look at is the access of the blog, of my blog currently, and the website in the past. But there are many others, and that can tell you more about what's going on in the world sometimes. Because if you have a lot of access to one word, to one place, to one website, maybe there is something happening there, and that can be really one way of doing intelligence in an intelligent way, in a modern way. But of course, it's not so easy. I mean, again, you have to keep using these things to become a bit more skilled with this. Now, one big issue which is coming out is the use of metadata, which means big amounts of data. This might seem something which is very far away from our diplomatic activities, for statisticians or mathematicians, but in fact it is not, because this is the next barrier or the next phase of being able to analyze what's going on in the world. Now you analyze big data which are available. And that can be from the economic point of view, from the sociological point of view, from the kind of information point of view. There are many different approaches, but still, this is coming also to us, who are supposed to be experts in knowing what is going on at that very moment in that very country. This is really something which has to come. And where we should be more ready. Giulia Campeggio, reducing public expenditure through the use of eTools. Yes, mainly yes with a little bit of no, in the sense that mainly yes because really most of these tools I showed you are for free. So in principle, we don't spend money on that. But of course, you have to spend money on the knowledge, which means time you have to dedicate to that, which is money again, which means sometimes having the proper equipment to do so, because even if they are online and free, you should have a proper bandwidth, a proper protection. There is an investment behind, which is certainly much lower in terms of cost of the amount of money that you can save making the proper use of these tools. But the big investment is really on people and on training the people, or giving the people possibility to learn, because training and learning are two different things, as I always say. So the people should be aware that those skills are useful and should make everything which is possible to learn them and to learn them properly. So, Guy, how do you think social media is changing international organizations, particularly with respect to engagement to citizens? Oh yes, I think it's changing a lot, because international organizations were already very much open in many cases to the external world. Let's think only of the NGOs or our group of interests or lobbies. There are so many. But now, so there were, meetings where NGOs were admitted, or lobbies, or informal groups with lobbies, consultations, and this is still going on, of course. But on top of this now, you have all the galaxy of the social media, which put a lot of pressure on big organizations, including the international organizations. And of course, international organizations cannot pretend that these groups do not exist. The point is, how can you be sure that something is, let's say, this kind of pressure is not coming from some artificial ways of use of social media. You put people or to write bad comments or to support a kind of position somewhere. Of course, this risk is there. It's a problem of credibility. It's a problem of building the confidence even in social media. Not all the social media are the same. Like not all the Twitter accounts are the same. Like not all the blogs are the same. Some are more valuable, some are less valuable. So knowing this world can help the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, international organizations, to understand where there is more reason to listen to and where there is less reason. It's like before with the newspapers. I mean, something published on the main newspaper of a country on the first page has a different weight, has a different impact, probably has a different credibility of something published on the 5th page of the small paper which is paid by a small group to do something else. It's the same in social media. So this to say they are really changing the international organizations and the Ministry of Finance. The point is, are we changing enough to to keep the same pace? This is kind of always running behind the changes that are taking place. This is nothing new. The point that we have to avoid to have a gap between the expectations which are coming from what is called civil society, very often it's a broader term, and the institutions. We do not have to make this gap widen just because we do not understand these tools that we are using nowadays. This is the big challenge. I jumped Tommaso. Sorry, Tommaso, I jumped your observation, which I completely share. Yes, you're right. Google Maps, it's incredible things you can do with Google Maps. They are even used as a source of intelligence in many cases. So, of course, can be very sensitive. Of course, they have nothing to do with the satellite maps, military satellite maps, where you can really go to the real little detail. But it's incredible the amount of information you can get just looking at the right maps in the right place. I'd almost say at the right time, because we know that this is done much in advance, the picture. And on top of that, this is, let's say, the intelligence use, okay, of a place. But of course, there are many things which are just used for your everyday life. Just to give you a trivial example, of course, if you are posted to a place where you have the street view, you can really see in advance the country, the city where you're going, the place where that you will be going to. I don't know if this will convince you more to go to that place or to change your mind, but in most cases, I would say it can make you the place more familiar. There is another example of other use of Google Maps, which has recently come from an initiative of the younger, some younger diplomats, young colleagues who are attending now the course. Most of them are now here online. And there was this idea to map, to use a Google Map, let's say, service, which allows you to put your little flags on an empty map, which can be useful for many reasons. They did it, and we published them online. You will find it on our blog, on the Easy Learning Corner blog. They put in the map all the Italian embassies and the Italian consulates and the Italian permanent representations in the world. And you have one map with all these flags. And of course, if you zoom on the map, you get until the really street where our embassy, for example, is located. And if there is Google Street, you can even see the embassy. So it's one way, it's a different way to provide now information. It can be very friendly. It can be very. It can be one way to show why it makes sense to have a presence in the world. It can reassure the our citizens, saying yes, but anywhere in the world we have somebody that can help us out, like our embassies or our consulates. It's one way to present this, just using one free service that's only 5 years ago it would have been unthinkable. 5 years ago you had to start taking a picture, putting there yourself little flags, and certainly it was not interactive. We have to use these opportunities to make more known what a Ministry of Foreign Affairs does, or international organization does, and I think this is an extremely good example of this opportunity. And it only comes from the knowledge. This I want to I mean, I just show you some examples here. But I'm sure that even with these tools, there are many other opportunities, like the one that I just mentioned, the Google Maps, that can come to your mind using it and looking at what somebody else is doing. In this sense, knowing the tool and going around and making comparisons with what others are doing, it can be extremely not only interesting, but also inspiring. So, for example, the example of the map is it's extremely good. These young colleagues, they have seen this for other activities, and they said, okay, why don't we apply it to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? And that was done. Now there are many applications which could come out, but this is just an example.
One question from Elisabetta Martini. I think that these eTools could prove to be pivotal even in intra-ministry communication in terms of sharing info between units of the same institution.
No, yes. I will repeat for those who haven't heard it because I think you don't have the microphone on. Yes, but anyway, I completely agree that some of these tools could be extremely useful, even not only for the external world, but even for the internal communication. And of course, sharing documents. This at least in our ministry is not there yet, or it's there to a certain extent. It's coming out with certain tools. But the fact of working together at the same time at the same document, something you can do, for example, with Google Drive, or what was Google Documents before, it's something which is more and more useful. It is done sometimes to a certain extent in international organizations. You have a drafter of a document, of a resolution, of a decision, whatever act, and you have several people or groups or states who have to work at the same time making proposals. Of course, the capacity. I mean, technically this can be done. It's culturally that we have to get used to put together this in one document and not be confused. So, but another example is, blogs. A blog can be a very interesting and useful internal tool. If the blog is only internal, can you imagine how many things you can exchange? Or wiki, there are many internal wikis. There is a Diplopedia by the US Department of State, which now is very famous. It's an internal Wikipedia. And they from all the embassies, they can put articles on important people, some positions, which are available immediately and can be collaborated. It's a collaborative work, so other people can even edit those articles, so that you can have the position or many information on one single issue at the same time. And this is one certainly internal and useful application that can make things much easier. This is just to come. I think we are running short of time. Anything else?
Yes, there is. Diego Rovelli speaks about the risk to create a diplomacy based on inaccurate information.
The risk based on inaccurate information. Yes, but I completely. This issue of the inaccurate information, the risk is not new. This I think we all agree. Even in the past, there were rumors, there were false articles which were published, and many other ways. The point is now, today, it's much easier to spread the wrong information. So you have to be careful on the information where you pick it from. At the same time, it's as easy as spreading wrong information. It is to counter this information with other information, which is the right one, or to balance it. It depends on how skilled you are. It's like when you have an attack. Of course, those who attack first, they have an advantage, but you have to be ready to defend, and if you have the tools to defend, then of course maybe you can resist, and maybe then you can even counterattack. This is another point which make it even stronger, my plea for spending time, investing time in learning properly all these issues. If you know very well how to tweet, if you have done your tweet account or your institutional one, you have done it for some time, you are credible, you have many followers, or you have the right followers. It's not only a problem of number. Once you will have really to convey something important, or you will have to counter-react to something which is wrong, you have your setup already there, so you can use it. But if you expect that there is something rumor going on Twitter and you have never used it, then you are in deep trouble to counteract. So that's why you have to think it's kind of preventive public diplomacy, if you want, in this case, preventive learning of social media that you should make. This is the message. Well, I think it's 3 o'clock. I started at 2 o'clock. We should make it not longer than 1 hour. I thank you very much for staying there for such a long time, and I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, I could enjoy it only through your chat. I thank Lorenzo for helping me out in reading the chat and being interactive, and hope that we will have other chances. If you have any follow-up or any suggestions for more information or more webinars on some issues that we touched today, we, Istituto Diplomatico and DiploFoundation, will be more than happy to follow up and see what we can organize. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, and soon have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.